And
Like
that
just
kind
the
of that
facts
kind
of
of
it.
get that kind of brings me to a point too. Like, I have a genetic disorder that, it's why I'm blind. I'm losing my hearing too. It's just eating away at like all my faculties. You know what I mean? And it's just like, why the fuck? Like, I honestly think living to old age, like super old age, is just fucking overrated. I don't care. Like, I don't want to have kids. I don't care about passing down my last name. I don't care about that typical middle American fucking story. I don't care about it. So a lot of the things that these people like a lot of people hold dear, or they romanticize. I just don't care about it because I've seen like older people like you know whether they're good or bad people, like they're fucking like once you hit a certain age, your body just starts to take a shit, and especially considering like the stuff that we intake on a daily basis, like you know, sure we're living, you know, we may be able to live a lot older than we used to, but it's just like I just want to live, man. Like,
Yo,
and I'm not saying
apparently,
like
so I'm
I'm
not
actually trying
living
to.
longer than we used to. That's just the average. Apparently, people used to live to 80 like all the time back then. It's just that the amount of shit that would kill you is less.
Right,
So,
right.
like, you're not as likely to have a barbarian chop your head off or have a famine wipe out 20% of your population or,
Hmm.
ironically, have a virus wipe out 20% of the humanity. It's just
Right,
not as likely because science.
right. Yeah, and it's
So
just
more people live out the full potential of that 80 years that or whatever that we were always capable of. That's from
yeah,
that fucking guy who wrote *Sapiens*. I'm reading his other books, and it was in that. So I'm like, say a word. That's relevant.
yeah. And I mean, just because I don't really care about living to like super old age, I'm still trying to lose weight and stuff like that. I just don't really feel like, you know, I just don't really care about, being that old dude, like that dependent old dude. I just don't want to be that guy. I
Mm.
want to be like I don't care about, and a lot of these people like I feel like they have like insecurities and they need to justify their positions, and they really like to just pick on people for, I could have a beer and like, oh, you're drinking a beer, you're fucking alcoholic. I'm like, bro, I'm just having a fucking beer, man. I'm happy. I'm enjoying life right now. I'm not using it as an escape for my depression or whatever. Like I'm happy, bro. Or someone's smoking a joint or whatever. It's just like, yo, why the fuck do people give a shit? Like, leave people alone. Like, they're not bothering you. It's like this whole shit that people have against, you know, LGBT. It's just like, why the fuck do you care, bro? Just leave them alone. They're not bothering you. They're not the one. The same people that say, oh, they're indoctrinating, and then they'll indoctrinate their own bigoted ass views onto their children. It's so fucking backwards. It's just like, why the fuck do you care? Just let people live, you know. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because the facts is, if you're a white middle class person, as everyone else in life gains, your group is going
yeah.
to lose a little bit because it's a math equation, and unfortunately that group is really unhappy that the balance of life is shifting and they're not winning like they are accustomed to winning, is my understanding of the situation, to be honest. Like, take like hiring policies like racial quotas. It literally is a policy that says we're gonna have less white men. That's literally the
Yeah.
policy, good or bad.
Hmm.
That's not really the point. So you
Yep.
can see how that group is going, oh shit, I actually have to try harder and da 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 da. It's
Right.
not like I
Exactly.
can coast through on this narrative that got sold to me by everybody. And the
Right.
narrative that gets sold to you when you a white boy is really fucking good.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, that's not what real life is because, yo, the world is kind of shifting in big ways. But when people get promised dreams and then expectations don't meet the realities, they act like fucking children, is what I
Hmm.
think is happening to a lot of people, especially
Yeah.
millennials. Millennials really were force fed this, like, you're special bullshit when we were young. They used to be, like, all over my classroom and crap. I remember it vividly, like, colorful signs,
Yeah. A
affirmation
happy dappy
messages
shit.
that, like, made me sound like I'm gonna be a fucking superstar in life. I don't know. Turned me into a little narcissist, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I don't feel like not enough people they keep it real with their kids. And I mean, there's a limit. You don't want to like just dump everything on your fucking kid at once. But I just don't believe in all this fucking lying and shit. Like people where I'm like in, I have a disability, so a lot of people get like this peppy, fucking fluffy motivational shit. Like, oh, you're special, or you don't have a disability, you have an ability. And as I got older, I just started to realize like that's so fucking bullshit. Because the thing about it is like, and I'm not comparing myself to anyone else, like anyone else's struggles or like racial struggles, but blind people are inherent like whether for better like whether from the worst to the best instance or least to the worst, I don't know, like we're not, people look at us different, like we're not, people have assumptions, like we're not looked at to them, we're not considered as equal to them as they may consider someone else who fits their box of normality. And there's nothing wrong with talking about that. Like I remember I would talk about that shit and people would try to like talk me down, or people were like, "Oh, you're wrong. You're just da da da." Like, no, this shit is fucking real. And it's not like I need anyone's, like I'm going to keep doing my shit regardless.
Yo,
That's not the point.
just like to jump on the whole visual impairment shit. I forget that technically speaking, to a minor extent, I am visually impaired. That's like a fact. That's because I have glasses and shit. And I
Right,
got
yeah, yeah, yeah.
reminded of that with this masks on in the stores. When I go blind for like 2 minutes every time I walk into a store in Montreal's fucking frozen ass weather, and I fucking swear I get anxious and shit. It's actually wild. So like, I don't know, man. If you can't see and shit, that definitely
Yeah.
creates a hurdle. But then I definitely do think people be looking at people different when they know they can't see and
Hell yeah.
all
Yeah.
of it. Because I mean, it's a lesser talked about thing, but it's definitely up on the group of shit that people in the '80s would have just happily made fun of for the sake of it.
Yeah. And I just feel like this whole like kind of beating around the bush and try to make things seem better than what they really are, it creates like, because a lot of blind people, and there are blind people that are, you know, I don't identify with any specific blindness organization like the NFB or whatever. I actually feel like they're kind of a cult, but it's just like
Say a
you
word.
create this narrative, and then blind people get all like comfortable amongst themselves, and they kind of lose perspective of the rest of the world, like because that's what we're up. Not, I don't want to say up against, but like this is the playground we're in. Like we have to live with other people that have sight, that that come from different walks of life, that have different stories, different backgrounds, and it's just like we are unique, for better or worse. We are unique, you know, individuals in the fact that a chief faculty that most people rely on, we don't have, and unfortunately, you know, a lot of people don't really have the fortitude to want to learn about this stuff. Like, and I mean the average person, not someone that like, because there are people that go to school to be a visual TVI, like a teacher for the visually impaired. That's what that means. And you know, it's just and it'll show up in like weird ways for me too. Specifically, like I'll be talking to a chick or talking to a girl, and I'll just be like, it was when I was in college, and I bumped into her by the elevator, and we just kind of started chopping it up, and we went to the you know to the we went to go get food. I can't wait to go fucking back to that school, but you know we were about to leave, and I'm like, hey, do you want me to give you my number? And I wasn't really trying to like be like super aggressive or anything, but she's like, yeah, we could be friends, and I'm like, and in my head I'm like, well, I wasn't trying to like push up on you like that, but okay. And it's just like certain shit, like how people kind of approach. I find that like I have to really be like, I'm not really allowed, like I'm talking a lot now, but like in general I'm a very quiet, reserved person if I don't know somebody. So a lot of times like I'm very low key, and people kind of view that as me, you know, in the context of me not being able to see as like,
No, I fucking swear. Bro, if I have my glasses off and I'm in a room, I don't say a fucking word. I
yeah,
can't. I can't see your face. I can't. I'm not in my element. I know you could probably read voices really well, so it kind of gives you like a
not
sense
with
of
how
like
shitty my hearing has gotten, but I used to be able to, but yeah.
right, but it probably creates more comfort in that call environment, right? Like
Right.
rather than in the room full of shit. Cause yo, I'm telling
I
you,
just
if
don't
I
like
can't,
drawing attention to myself like that.
if I
Some
can't
people
see
be
your eyes and shit, it fucks me up. I don't even want to talk. I just want to sit there and like, yo, it freaks me out a bit. Like, I don't know. I
yeah.
mean, I'm okay with like
And people
calls
think
too,
that
but like, nah, it's crazy how much like, because people do a lot of communicating with their bodies and faces that they just expect you to read, and if you
hmm
can't actually see that shit, which look, like I can see well enough if we like I'm about to kiss you close, but like we start getting to like a group level, it's kind of blurry and shit, and I can't
yeah.
follow it, and it even when it's blurry, it's like I have to take extra effort to process what the fuck I'm seeing, whereas glasses it's just like whoosh, and I'm like, okay, we good.
Right. And it's just like I think people kind of see that like me being relatively quiet with the disability and they're like, "Oh, well, he's kind of not really like he may not have." Whereas, I may have a few beers and I'm like, you know, joking and being sarcastic and shit and people see that and he's like, "Oh, this is like a whole ass person right here." Like, you know what I mean? It's like you have to kind of like make people, and I don't really feel like I'm obligated to make people feel comfortable with me at all. That's not my problem. But it's just when you're able to like excuse me. When you're able to like in a social setting, you're drinking, you're cracking jokes and shit and being sarcastic or just chopping it up and people see that and they're like, "Oh, well this person is more like me than than they would be if they saw me like just kind of minding my own business, listening to something on my phone and eating food." Like people just don't get it, you know. A lot of I don't want to say compensation, but like just, you know, especially in the dating world, like you got to really kind of go out of your way to, you know,
Yo,
but
dating
it is what it is though. I'm not complaining. It's just,
dating
the cards I was
is
dealt.
is wild, bro.